Welcome to the Tesla Power Podcast, the unofficial Tesla energy community covering solar panels, solar roof, and Powerwall for your home. I'm Aaron Brady. Coming up, we have news, we have calls, and I share my experience with Tesla products and the Tesla team. Let's do it. Electrek reports that the Tesla solar roof pricing is increased with an added parameter called complexity. Now, this is basically estimating how many custom pieces they're going to need to cut for your roof. So I've got a few examples of roofs here. You can see I've featured one of the super complex roofs that I can find. There's a couple of features that are going to immediately stand out. So number one is multiple levels. The second is dormers. That's generally where little windows would show up, like this portion here. You'd see grade changes, and then you'd see vents. And vents are, plumbing vents that stick out of the top of your roof to let air out, and let the pressure go down for plumbing. Now, as you might expect, the simplest roofs get the best pricing. Part of the problem with the configurator, though, is that complexity would need to be determined by a site visit or satellite image, maybe. So this really can't be used for anything but a rough approximation when you're budgeting. Electrek also reports that Powerwalls will no longer be available without accompanying solar purchases. Now, this is largely driven by cell availability, as demand for cells has massively outstripped supply. The electric vehicle ramp is primarily to blame, but grid-scale battery storage, particularly the Megapack, which can have up to 7 million lithium-ion cells, it's like 1,000 cars. It's expected to be a secondary factor here. At first, you might ask, who's buying Powerwall only? But think about it. Existing solar projects could add storage, or third-party solar manufacturers and installers might want Powerwalls to add to their projects. But I think a lot of people will be surprised to hear that customers buy batteries only to save money in many markets. It's a power arbitrage or a pricing arbitrage play. So they buy or they store cheaper energy that they buy overnight, and they use it during peak rate hours during the day. So this has tons of value over time, even for those without solar. Next one up, Businesswire reports that Swell Energy is launching a virtual power plant in Queens, New York. Now, they're targeting 3,000 megawatts of storage by 2030. The plan is to install batteries in homes so the stored energy can be drawn by the utility for grid balancing and for stability. Now, the trend for virtual power plants is gaining momentum as battery storage becomes more accessible, meaning more cheaper, and they make more cells. Also, the software tools and the connectivity make the ability to coordinate large numbers of distributed storage sources easier. So virtual power plants are a tremendous investment, especially when you compare them with the capital costs and maintenance costs of power plants. This is something I think we should take a closer look at in a future episode. And one of my favorite podcasts is the Economist Radio. The venerable Economist magazine has been podcasting for several years. And I have them to thank for discovering Tesla back in 2015. Their show, The Week Ahead, is where I'd first heard about the Model 3 reveal. I watched it that night, put in my reservation without telling the creative director wife. But she came on board by the time it was time to take delivery. But they've replaced that podcast with what they call The Intelligence, and I strongly recommend it. It is so good. Anyway, this week they featured a story on home heating replacements for gas boilers. Microwave ovens. Now, this is unexpected, but kind of obvious, right? I mean, if you've ever heated water in the microwave, you know that you can get it hot really fast. So if you're to use your heating coil like on your stove, you'd need at least twice as long to boil the water. I mean, mine takes kind of forever, and they say it's a fast boil top, but why aren't we doing this already? Seriously, the idea makes so much sense. The company they profile in the piece, Heatwave, that's W-A-Y-V, they claim that this process is 96% efficient. Now, looking on the interwebs, I was able to find a physics stack exchange thread where people smarter than me were pointing out that this probably isn't better than contained resistive heating, which they estimate to be close to 100%, but it does have a speed advantage, and that means it can replace on-demand gas boilers. We happen to have one from Baxi here at the house. I mean, we don't have any plans to swap it out in the short term, of course, but I'll be keeping an eye on this. It's interesting, especially if we get our electricity for free. It might be a viable alternative. I mean, my concern would be the continuous energy required to continuously heat. A microwave oven uses a lot of electricity. If you've, we've got our power app, and just during their testing phase, we could see how much electricity each of the different things we're using. And the resistive heating was using a lot of electricity, and the microwave uses a lot of electricity. But the gas boiler we've got would only need electricity to, run the electronics and to spark the flame to start running the gas to heat the home. So like if we were in the winter and the the power had gone out, I don't know that I would want to be relying on electric heat or an electric boiler. I think I would much prefer using gas because, gas delivery would continue uninterrupted. Anyway, that's it for news. Let's get to your calls after a quick break. It's audience participation time. So this portion of the pod is for questions. It's for comments. It's for community input. And you can participate in two ways. You can call 203-816-5150 and leave a message, or you can record your message, video or audio, and email it, or a link to it, to teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com. Now, since this is the first show, we have no calls. So I'll kick this off with a couple of questions that I had leading up to the install of our solar glass roof. My first question was, why do my friends with solar have no power when the electricity goes out? Like, isn't that the whole point of having solar? Well, the reason they can't use power coming from their roof during a grid power outage is twofold. Number one, it's a safety hazard to workers trying to restore power to the grid. Number two, there's no way to use the exact amount of energy you're generating. This means there's no way to load balance or to keep the excess from going back to the grid. If they had battery storage, though, they'd be able to use their solar during a grid outage. But this hasn't been common until recently. In fact, it's not even that common still. And it's worth noting that batteries can be added to an existing solar system. But you got to know that there's some support equipment that's needed to switch the loads and to monitor capacity. It's not as easy as just slapping a stack of Duracells to the side of your house, at least not yet. So the second question I had is, what size solar system should I get? I was thinking I'd probably just do like max solar and then pocket the excess, right? Well, it's not exactly that simple. It's really more a balance of cost and benefit, and there are a lot of variables. So if you're overproducing, you're unlikely to get an appreciable amount of money back from the utility. They're going to sell it to you at retail and then credit you at wholesale, and that's not a very valuable exchange. That'll totally kill your return on investment. But if your goal is to make the world greener, then that's cool, I guess. But there are probably other ways. There are definitely other ways you can spend your money that'll be more impactful. So save the money. More generally accepted is to use your energy bill as a guide for the system size. So you're basically wanting to generate as close to what you end up using over the course of a year. So in states like mine, I'm in Connecticut, the utility offers net metering, right, which results in a net of $0 owed to the utility at the end of the 12-month cycle. So you'll produce more in the summer, you'll produce less in the winter, more or less. And it's meant to even out over that 12-month period. But it's never exact. So I would expect to owe a little or be credited a little each billing cycle, though we haven't even been switched on yet, so I don't really know what's going to happen. So I'll share as I learn more, of course. So that will kick us off for the call-in portion of the show. If you have something to ask or something to contribute, including correcting anything I'm saying, call 203-816-5150 or email teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com. Leave your name, where you're from, and say your thing, but keep it brief. Let's target a minute or so all in. I encourage multiple submissions, so if you have more than one question, just send more than one email or leave more than one message. There's no need to try to squeeze everything you've ever wondered into a single message. At this point, I'll be getting to all of them, so let's not worry about it, right? So let's take another quick break, and I'll be back with my experiences ordering and one of my interactions with a Tesla team member. I gotta say that ordering Tesla products is scary easy. The car and the roof were the second and the third largest purchases I've ever made, and both were completed in under a minute. So the deposit for the roof was about $100. Yeah, it was only $100, and we'll complete the roof tear off and the full installation, essentially all of the work, right, before another sun is due. So we've been able to make the roof a cash purchase, which is awesome. We didn't even have to do any loan paperwork, so pretty crazy. But during the process, I found that it was hard to get answers. Since I didn't know what I was doing, this made for some painful missteps that helped me realize like a better community would benefit me and probably would benefit a lot of other people too. And here we are. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was my interaction with Tesla people. So Tesla people are enthusiastic for sure. The solar glass delivery guy, he was especially enthusiastic, and the two of us were a scary feedback loop. The creative director wife was making fun of both of us, and we're definitely over the top. He knocked on the door. He was like, "It's Tesla," and I'm like, "It's Tesla!" Totally out of control. He asked me two questions. The first, if I'd seen the roof in person. I had only seen pictures. And he's like, "Dude, it's beautiful. It's better than you think." And I'm like, "Dude, you're making me so happy right now." And then the second question he asked me is, "Where would you like me to drop the pallets?" But I was too excited. I couldn't even think. After an embarrassingly long bout of indecision, like totally out of character for me, I just finally had him put the goods on the left side of the driveway. Now, dummy didn't think about the metal work that we already had on the inside of the garage on the right side. So we had nowhere to pull the car in for like a full week. So that made charging a nice challenge, but hey, I guess it all worked out. So we've got a lot more, or I've got a lot more to share, and I'll be getting into a lot more detail that can help inform your decisions and enhance your experience, or even just satisfy a bit of vicarious curiosity if you're on the sidelines for now. So huge shout out to Ryan McCaffrey of Ride the Lightning for his inspiring this pod. Its format, its aspiration to build community, I've obviously lifted directly from him. I love what he's doing for the Tesla car community, and we need a bit of it for the residential energy community. So thank you, Ryan, for being awesome and for being nice to me about stealing your look. And that'll do it for episode 1 of the Tesla Power Podcast, the unofficial Tesla energy community. I'm Aaron Brady, and we'll see you on the next one.